What's up, guys? I just wanted to say a couple things before we start this week's podcast. We talked about some stuff that people might maybe aren't expecting. Obviously, Iowa State had a big win over Oklahoma last night on the road down in Norman. Iowa's got a big game coming up Thursday night at at Carver Hawkeye Arena against Indiana. We did touch on that a little bit, but not in the ways that you guys probably would think. Uh, Jordan's been sick. He hasn't been able to watch much basketball. He's been down pretty bad, and I think anybody who listens to the podcast will be able to see that. Um, but it's been an interesting week around the sports world, especially I think in our local area. I think everything that happened with DeMar Hamlin on Monday, thoughts and prayers with him and his family. Obviously, as he continues to go through what he's going through and continues to fight uh, for life, really. And you think about what has happened with Patrick McCaffrey over the last several days and his decision to step away from basketball. There's the letter that Trayce Jackson-Davis, who's obviously coming to Iowa tonight to play against the Hawkeyes, that he received. We just talked about a lot of stuff that doesn't really have anything to do with the games. And so if you're someone who is looking for the games, obviously I want you to listen to our podcast, but I think that this is a really important conversation, but I felt that we owed it to you guys to tell you that this is not going to be me and Jordan breaking down the X's and O's of Iowa State, Oklahoma. It's not going to be us breaking down the X's and O's of Iowa and Indiana. There's just a lot of human things that I think needed to be discussed during this podcast that don't really have a whole lot to do with what's going on the court. I know that C-Dub and Chris Hassel, I'm sure, have tackled that on their podcast. I haven't listened to it yet this morning. They were recording it right now as I'm knocking this out. So I just wanted to say all those things. And then too, full disclosure, I forgot to do our ad read too. So it's like I needed to say a couple things and let you guys know what you guys are in store for. And then I wanted to shout out to our friends at Sweet Caroline's Kitchen and Cocktails on Main Street in Ames. It's the perfect place to go before or after Iowa State home games, anytime the Cyclones are on the road, or anytime the Hawkeyes are in action. It's a great spot for late night fun with a Southern-inspired menu with a great collection of burgers, sandwiches, wings, and, of course, Caroline's famous fried chicken. The atmosphere is incredible with plenty of TVs to watch any game on your radar, and there's a party room available for rent for your next big gathering. That's Sweet Caroline's Kitchen and Cocktails at 316 Main Street in Ames, the presenting sponsor of all our basketball conversation right here on J-Bo and Jared. We didn't really talk any basketball. I didn't even think about it, so I wanted to make sure and come back and shout them out before the episode so that they we can show how much we appreciate them and show our appreciation to all of our great sponsors here at Iowa Everywhere. Without much further ado, let's fire this thing up.
Jordan Bohannon, Jared Stansberry.
It's Jared and J-Bo on Iowa Everywhere. This is Iowa Everywhere.
The podcast. Jordan Bohannon's playing hurt tonight.
This is my flu game.
This is your flu game. You unleashed like the deadliest sneeze I've ever seen in my life right before the podcast started.
I know. Then I forgot to turn the volume down on my earphones as I was sneezing. So
of course,
it was a double whammy.
Of course. Is it Iowa basketball that's made you sick? Iowa basketball over the last 3 weeks?
I think it was just missing you, dude. It's been a while.
That's what it is. It's with withdrawals.
Yeah, I'm getting the shakes. I was shaking in my bed last night, so that's probably what it was. I was missing you.
Oh man. Yeah, it's been a rough couple weeks for your Hawkeyes. We got to cover that here in a little bit. Iowa State with a big win tonight over Oklahoma. Won 63-60 on the road. This was a crazy game, Jordan. They got up 25-13 in the first 8 minutes of the game, or first 10 minutes of the game, and then Oklahoma closed the first half on a 16-4 run in order to tie it. And then Iowa State just able to get enough done in the second half to make plays. Some guys knocked down some big time shots. I mean, this Iowa State team just gets more and more impressive, man. To be able to go on the road in a game like this, where, especially one I feel like where you blow a big lead like that and you're able to just hang on. It just shows toughness, man. I think it speaks to the mettle of what this Iowa State team has right now.
I think on top of too, because they just come off was it the Baylor the game
Mhm.
before, correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Their ability to, I think, kind of accomplish their offensive woes that they've had and score against really great defensive team like Baylor, and then do it again the next game. I mean, you said they put up 25 points in the first 10 minutes. Is that,
Mhm.
I didn't see the game, but
Well, yeah, they didn't. Here's the thing I forgot to mention. They
they
didn't
didn't
score
score.
for 9 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's
yeah.
not surprising. But also, I think it says a lot more about where the team's trajectory is going, that they've been working on offense in
Hmm.
practice, and I think it's starting to show obviously from the last couple games they played.
Yeah, I mean they run good offense. They get good looks, and I think that, and they just share the ball really well. Tamin Lipsey, man, is just every time I watch him, I'm more and more impressed. He just has something about him, that there's something that the guys that you can think of that come in and play point guard that just are not going to do anything flashy, but they just got that heart, man. Like it's something else. It's pretty cool to watch as a freshman, but obviously he's got a long way to go, and there's a lot of basketball to be played. But he is it just continues to impress me. This game against Oklahoma, he had some rebounds that were just like offensive boards going down there amongst the trees, just ripping the ball out. It just is so impressive. He just has that it about him.
Yeah, and I think anytime you have a player that's passionate like that, as young as he is, that's gonna continue passing down every single recruiting class, as long as he stays at Iowa State. So I mean, him being what he is now, it's only going to improve more, and that's going to rub off on so many other guys too. And that's something I experienced firsthand when I first came in at Iowa with Peter Jock being the senior and him being an All American. I was like, man, I want to work as hard as he can, as hard as he has. I want to be just like him. I want to shoot the ball like him. I want to get in the gym when he is. And I think anytime you have those types of guys, that rubs off on so many.
For sure. Yeah, I just Iowa State's got TCU on Saturday down in Fort Worth. If they could steal both of these games on the road right off the bat, I mean, Iowa State all of a sudden might be in the mix to talk about a
Top
Big 12
15.
regular season championship, like, and be right there at the end. I mean, I don't think that there's gonna be that many teams that go on the road and win in the Big 12 this year. There never usually is, but I feel like that's even fewer this year. And I don't I don't know. That's gonna be a big game on Saturday, just to kind of get yourself kicked in for the entire rest of the season.
Well, we all knew that a team coached by TJ after what he's done with his Iowa State program, that be very, they're going to be up there at the top of the conference no matter what. And I'm not surprised how they've been playing. I mean, seeing how the Big 12 is, you're right. I don't see a lot of road wins out
Do you
there.
think the Big 12? I mean, do you think the Big 12 could get 10 teams in?
I wouldn't say 10. I think just how conferences always shake up, it's pretty hard on paper
Yeah,
to get 10 teams in on a conference. I would say
your
they
10th place
could. They
team would have to be 7-11.
I think for sure they get 8. I think it's almost set in stone unless teams completely drop the ball that are in the middle of the pack. But I think for
Right?
sure they're going to get 8 in,
Yeah,
which is crazy to think about.
yeah. Well, I mean, when you think about what Jerome Tang has done at Kansas State, and then uh, I mean, I think Oklahoma State is still a really good team. It's just they have not been able to get over the hump and get like a, I don't know, it just doesn't seem they've been as good as they can be. And TCU is like, for Iowa State going into Fort Worth on Saturday, I feel like you're catching TCU at the exact time that you want to, because they're not playing their best ball. But that's the kind of team that by mid-February, like, no one's going to want to play TCU.
Yeah. I mean, you saw how well TCU could be too when they played Iowa. They played phenomenal against Iowa. So that's a scary team. I honestly think TCU has a chance to be up there as well as one of the people that can win the Big 12 just
Mhm.
because of what they have of all levels of scorers, and they're very, very hard to score on. Really great defensive team, in my opinion, after what I saw against Iowa, if they continued through that Big 12 conference. But, man, we saw against, was it last night? It was like 112 to 107 or whatever. I don't know the final tally, which was absurd to think about.
The Kansas State game? Is that what you're
Yeah.
talking about? Yeah, that's
I'm talking
crazy.
about Kansas State, yeah, but like Big 12, I think it was 3 weeks ago we talked about this.
Damn,
Like, I
Baylor's
feel like
Baylor's beating TCU by 10 right now. I'm gonna keep an eye on that as we continue the program. But everybody in the morning will already know what's going on. But
I feel like Big 12 is like there's like half the teams that are really great defensive teams and half the teams are really great offensive teams. Like TCU is kind of a tweener team, but like Kansas State, that was out of nowhere. I mean, I think that was like the biggest over
well,
under miscalculation in history.
yeah, it was 70 point. It was a 70-point difference,
It's
I think.
unbelievable.
I mean, and I looked at the live over under. I don't know, probably late in the second half. It was 206, and it had closed, I think, at 136. Like that's incredible. But that's just. I don't know what's up with Texas though. They've been giving up points the last couple games. I think they gave up.
Well,
I'm looking it up.
we know what's up with Texas.
Well, yeah. That would
I'm
be really
surprised.
hard, man. That'd be really hard to be one of those guys right now. I feel like.
I'm surprised though how well they played though, even with the
Yeah. Well,
whole.
yeah. I mean, they still scored. They still scored 103. It was 116 to 103.
I think that's the first game that they lost.
I wish I
Without
could have
him,
watched it, but it was on the Longhorn Network, so nobody could watch it hardly.
Shout out Longhorn Network. That's crazy. They still have that.
Texas Tech, Kansas State was a good game though too. That was another one of those perfect examples. Like it was just like this Iowa State Oklahoma game tonight, where Kansas got out to a lead, and Texas Tech just like chipped away, and all of a sudden it's a close game at the very end, and Texas Tech had an opportunity to tie the game and send it to overtime. It just is like every night. It might come down to 2-3 points in every game in these Big 12 games, unless you're Kansas State going to Austin, apparently.
Yeah, I think Texas Tech is a good team this year. I mean, the whole Big 12, dude, it's just crazy. I just think it is going to be a bloodbath.
I have not been very impressed by Tech so far, but
I think they're a solid team.
It's like all relative. Yeah, it's like all relative. I don't think Tech's all of a sudden going to go 0-18, and I think that they're going to keep getting better. Just it's a much different team than what he had last year. The thing that made them so good last year was that they were so like versatile. Everybody was 6'5" and athletic and just like got after you, and they're all strong and fast. I mean, we watched them play at the Big 12 tournament, and that team was incredible. When they played against Iowa State, that was hardly even before the game even started. The line could have been 15, and I would have bet on it.
Well, yeah, I think too. Like Texas Tech, I'm looking at their scores. I mean, they only lost by 6 to TCU. They lost by 3 to Kansas last night. Like the games they've lost, they're right there.
Yeah. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I don't think they're a bad team. It just is in the Big 12, man. Like if you get on a tough stretch right here, I don't know. They got Oklahoma, but then they got to go to Iowa State and then to Texas. Which,
I mean, you just look at their schedule. I mean, it's like that with every Big 12 team. It's just absurd.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, let's talk about Iowa. I think that we've been avoiding it to this point. Your Hawkeyes have had a bad couple weeks. The loss to Eastern Illinois, the loss to Nebraska, the loss to Penn State. They do play Indiana tonight. It's in Iowa City, right?
Yeah.
Home. Yeah, at home in Iowa City. What do you have to say for yourself?
That's pretty much my answer. I don't know, dude. I had such high hopes coming off that Iowa State win. I know they didn't play well against TCU, which is a good team, but it's not like they don't care. I feel like they're almost putting too much pressure on themselves this year after what we did last year. I think not necessarily they're like hungover, as that term is, hungover from the championship last year, but I think there's just way too much. I mean, you look at Peyton Sanford; he hasn't made a shot in Big Ten play. He's a really good shooter.
Do you think expectations were just too high? You think?
I don't think they're too high. I just think some of these kids out there are putting a little too much pressure on themselves and wanting to succeed at a historic level. And I think anytime you put that kind of pressure on yourself and you're looking at a macro term, like you're looking towards the end of the season instead of like day by day, that shit's hard, man. Like I know I've been through it myself. Like trying to get through day by day is hard as long. But if you look at the bigger picture and you want to win a championship, you want to get to, point C at the end of the season, that's really hard to go throughout your whole path in the season with all that weight on your shoulder after you lose a game, all these people talking, and you have a bad shooting day, you had a couple turnovers, like that all piles on throughout the season. I mean, after that Eastern Illinois loss, I think that was very detrimental to the team. Not from a season wise, like I think they'll end up being okay, but personal wise, I think that took a toll on some of the guys, and fans are just brutal on any fan base. There always are, but man,
Well,
that was a tough scene.
I imagine it was especially hard because it was the fact that it was the largest upset in history or whatever, according to Vegas, and it was like everywhere, all over the internet, all over. It's like you go on Instagram, there's all kinds of memes about it and things like that. Like that would be horrible. I mean, yeah, I feel for those guys in that sense, and that leads us to let's talk about Patrick McCaffrey, who announced on Tuesday that he's going to take an indefinite leave of absence from the team to deal with his anxiety, which has made it too hard for him to be able to perform. This is a hard thing for me to talk about, dude. So I'm not gonna try. This just like I got mad respect for Patrick McCaffrey to come out and talk about this because that would be really hard to step away from the team and make that decision would be really hard. So I'll give you the floor for a second to talk about Patrick McCaffrey.
No, I think this goes back to, I think it was my first or second episode when we were talking about John Wall and his article that he wrote, and obviously struck a huge chord with you and a lot of people that listen to this podcast. I think it's really important to kind of realize that, it is entertainment that these guys are watching on TV, but, this isn't, I'm trying to word this the right way. They're not actors, right? Like they're
Right.
human beings out there. And I think this is another example of a kid that is a great human being and wants to win for his university. Obviously his dad being the coach, his brother on the team, they're really tied to this university in this state, and they want to do everything they can to make sure this program is at elite level. And I think there's just a lot of pressure on not only himself, but, the McCaffrey family, obviously, and how Iowa has been in past years. But man, I have a lot of respect for Patrick for coming out and saying what he has and taking a leap of absence. It's not a selfish thing to do. It's what he needs to do, because at the end of the day, you're the most important person. Like taking care of yourself is the most important thing. And the fact that he's able to do that in the public eye, and there's still people out there that are going to scrutinize him for doing this, but I think nowadays it's starting to become more of okay to not be okay, and I think that's important in today's society.
Yeah, I just think that it's. I just understand exactly what he's talking about. When he says that how hard it is to get out of bed, how tired he is, how you don't feel like you can do what you need to do, and you feel like you're letting people down. I've been in that position, and that just is one of those things where I could never blame anybody for that, and anybody that could ever blame somebody for that or to think that they are letting you down, I don't. That's just like that's really selfish. That is what would drives me crazy about anybody that would ever think that, because I don't understand why there's so many people out there. And this takes us even to what happened with Trayce Jackson-Davis, and not breezing past what is happening with Patrick, but what's going on with him and the letter that he got from some weirdo in Indiana who was talking about the team and just saying things that were not helpful in any way, that uh, was just super unnecessary. And when you have to, when you put up with those things and then you're already not feeling like yourself, and you're just like in a position where you feel like there's all these, like there are people that are going to tell you that you're letting them down. That just is, that's terrifying, And that's why why I respect what Patrick is doing so much, because I think there's a lot of people out there that would not be strong enough to do that, to understand that they can do what they need to do and nobody's going to hold that against them at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, if Patrick McCaffrey decides that he's going to come back and play basketball and that's what he wants to do, Patrick McCaffrey is going to be the best version of himself, which means that he's going to make up for whatever it is that he might have missed, And everybody should want everybody to feel like they can be the best version of themselves, And why would anybody ever try and hold someone back from that?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough subject, and I think the more we kind of normalize not only athletes but people, like in general, realizing that people are people, like as vague as that sounds, like realizing people are human, people deal with their own issues, deal with their own problems. They have issues that they don't want to talk about, and I think a lot of people are selfish in their ways of not realizing that, and I think that's the main thing. A lot of what issues are coming from speaking out about like this.
I'm gonna go tinfoil hat mode, like just in like on a deep level on something for just a second. Okay. With I feel like like people back like at a certain point, like you only knew the people that you knew, that were right in your town or whatever. You didn't know anybody else like anywhere outside of your area. Now, like you introduce the internet, and then now you have access to everybody. But you forget that all of those people are real people because you don't like it's just like they're just people on the internet, or they're just like the people that I watch on TV or things like that. And to them, it's like it's not real, And I've just like been grappling with some of those things the last several days, even, since what happened on Monday Night Football. Like that just is, it just has been it's been a weird week to like think about sports sometimes,
And I think you made some great points about the Buffalo Bills player as well, but yeah, I just think society nowadays is so intertwined with the virtual world that like problems in other people's lives aren't a thing like they even can fathom anymore. Like me and my girlfriend talk about this all the time. Like when we're traveling, you pass a car, right, or you're on the plane. Think about all those people you like kind of encounter. You don't really
Mm-hmm.
talk to, but you pass by. You see them pass by in the car. You walk by them in the airport. They're all doing their own thing, right? Like they all have their own stories, like, and they're all going somewhere, right? They're all dealing with their own thing. And I feel like the internet and social media and Twitter has kind of blocked that personal interactions that we have on a daily level. And I think that has been a main issue of why so many people have struggled to deal with anxiety, deal with depression, deal with all these things because they're afraid to come out and say it. And that's frustrating from an athlete perspective like mine because I know some of my teammates and some of my friends that played sports have dealt with the same thing. I mean, you've talked about your own story, and I think it's really frustrating once you meet these people and you listen to their story, and then you see that there's people that has a perspective on, well, no, why is that even a thing? Like, just push through it, just go through it. Like that doesn't make any sense. And I think like that virtual world, man, it's once you start going down that road, you kind of can get lost in it. And I think a lot of people have gotten lost in it.
Yeah, it just is. It just makes me sad sometimes. It just is like I don't even know how the best way to put it. It just is really frustrating because you feel like we're better than that at times. But and then you meet people. You meet so many people, and there's so many good people out there. That are supportive and do like really care about other people. But then you also just have these people who feel like they can do and say whatever they want to people. And I think that that's really, it's just like unfortunate, like you have that right, but there was never a point in the past, unless you're going to write someone a letter or something like that, where you had the ability to say anything to anybody that you want at any time on Twitter or Facebook or whatever it may be, Instagram. Any person out there that has a social media account on the planet could say something to another person at any time. And there are a lot of people out there that like don't have anything nice to say about people, and I don't know if that's like a good thing, honestly. The more that I think about it and the more that uh, time goes on, I don't know. I feel like
Yeah,
I'm being like a crotchety old man, but it just is like one of those things. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I just don't. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, should we shut the internet down? I'm not being serious about that, but
yeah. I mean, my dad says it all the time. Like
Lolo, stop.
Lolo agrees. No, I feel like my dad says this all the time. I always ask him like, why is he not on social media? And like, are you on social media? Like, blah blah blah. Do you ever listen to what people say like about me or my brothers or whatever? He's like, no, I have no use to be on social media. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, but there's like a lot to social media offers. He's like, not in my life, which like it kind of makes sense. Like he's to kind of go off of my dad. Like he's kind of grown up. He grew up for nothing, right? Like in California, he was raised in California. I didn't really know his dad. His mom wasn't really in his life, and um, I think like my dad's story kind of like I don't know. I'm trying to like connect this with what we're talking about because my dad's story is really like unique compared to the majority of the world. And I think like if most people were kind of the way my dad kind of thinks and his mentality, I think people just suck. I think that's just what I'm trying to say. I think people fucking suck, and I'm tired of it. I think I was trying to go the nice way about it, but man, I just the more I talk with my dad, the more I
Oh
talk with
man.
you, the more I talk with people, bro. Like it is crazy to think about. There's some people that will say whatever. They'll get on their phone, they get on the virtual world, and just say whatever, and they're okay with it, right? They think that's the right thing to do. They think their lives are so great and they live in this fairy tale world. I don't know. And it's getting to the point, man. Like, I don't even know. I don't know. Because there's old people doing it too. Like, I guarantee you that person
I'm
that
gonna
sent the
read.
letter is an
I'm
old
gonna.
person.
I was just say I'm gonna read from this letter. This is the most. It reads. It like makes me sick to my stomach on some level, but it's like it's also incredible that some of these things were written down on a piece of paper, put into an envelope. The guy wrote his name on the piece of paper and sent it off. He put a stamp on it and sent it off. I just cannot believe that that is a thing that someone would do. This is what this says. I know you will never give this. I know they will never give this to you, which is illegal, but I'm writing it anyway. My favorite player of all time is Calbert. I'm not sure who that is. I'm not an Indiana basketball historian, but not because he scored a lot, but because he was an awesome leader. You, on the other hand, are a horrible leader. Players get in trouble all the time, which means they didn't respect you or Woody, who also sucks as a leader. I hated that guys cried to the refs after bad calls instead of keeping head up in the game way too much, celebrating after dunks, threes. I can't read this guy's handwriting. This is like the basic. Uh, I'd rather watch a bunch of walk-ons getting their butts kicked than the guys playing with zero passion. I was probably the only guy who didn't want Race back because he also sucks as a leader. Hope you find some pride and be some better leaders. Otherwise, something about that. And then you're all gutless quitters who keep getting humiliated. Take your NIL and reimburse those who went to something. I don't know what the last part is, but
Disgusting.
someone on the planet did that. And like, fuck yes to Trayce Jackson-Davis for putting it out there and putting his name on it and like putting his ass on blast on Twitter.
It's
Good on
ridiculous.
him, man. If you
I
want to
don't.
write that letter, to someone, you want to say that, you are giving them every right to do whatever they want with it. And
Put his
whatever
name
happens
on it.
after that, that's what I'm saying. He had the audacity not only to send the letter, not only to write the letter and to send it. It's one thing, like, man, if you want to write that down and like you want to get something out and you're just like you journal or something, like do your thing, bro. this is really like that's just really fucking weird. Like, just don't do this. Like, the fact that if you are a fan, a sports fan out there, and you would ever think about doing something like this, just don't. Don't.
I
Don't
don't
do it.
understand like how I don't know, like how people are raised. I would get it if it was like a college kid that lost money on the game. Like I still wouldn't get it, but that's a different situation. But this guy is like obviously like an older man that sent that to Trayce Jackson-Davis. Like it's a new, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a normal social media tweet. Like this is more personal and this is more intent behind it than
Honestly,
being on social media.
I think a lot of social media would be better if old heads didn't treat young people like they're idiots all the time, or people that are younger than them like they're idiots all the time. Just in general,
Mhm.
And I don't even know what I'm saying. Like what I'm talking about. The people
Yeah.
out there that think that they know better than you do, even though, or think that they know better about something that, like for me, it's like I've done this for 10 years. For you, you played basketball for what, 15? Like, you were in a position where it's like, why are you telling me what to do, man? Like, who are you to think that you can tell me what to do or tell me how to do my job? Criticism or thinking that you are, giving some sort of constructive feedback, but doing it in a respectful way, I can appreciate that, you know. But if I was to go through and catalog all of the interactions that I have where I said that someone is giving me feedback and chart them, I'm gonna tell you right now, not a very high percentage of them would be respectful. you know.
Well, I think that's a big problem in society too. People listening to the wrong people. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot wrong with our society, but everything we just talked about the last 30 minutes, I think that is one of the bigger issues right now is what's being said on social media to by people that have just one, no clue what the hell they're talking about, and two, think they can just go and say whatever they want and have no repercussions. I'm not talking about like being violent with someone like saying something,
Mhm.
but you just be behind a troll account and say whatever you want about someone's family or someone's playing ability that plays in college. It's ridiculous, and there's no need for it.
You should start putting people on blast. Anybody still talk shit to you?
A lot of it was Iowa State fans. I did a pretty good job. I want to pat myself on the back.
Well, you haven't even watched Iowa
Uh,
State the last 2 times. So
Well,
how
I've
much
had
of a
games. I've
backpack
had
can you get? How much of a
no.
backpack can you get?
I want to put myself on the back real quick.
I'm just gonna
And
expose you. We're keeping it 100 here. We're just telling the truth.
I had a lot of Iowa State college kids in my DMs and saying some crazy ass shit. Mostly one after I got um, hit downtown, and two before and after my last game at Hilton. And I was majority of the times, if it was really bad, I put it on Twitter early on in my career and put them on blast. And I mean, people that follow me on Twitter could
Yeah.
find that. But I did I was proud of myself. I didn't post anyone that said some crazy ass shit because I didn't want to ruin their lives. I've seen it firsthand of a college baseball player calling me out, and I put it on Twitter, and he like got kicked off the team and
Oh shit.
blah blah blah. Shit was crazy, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
But he was saying some crazy shit. But like that wasn't worse from what some of these other kids were saying in my DM. So
but low key, man.
I'm patting myself on the back.
Sometimes the people that do these kinds of things, they need some shit to happen for them to realize, like, yo, I need to rethink some shit. Like, need something that's gonna be some sort of. You just gotta think twice about what you say to people, and not be a complete asshat. Where then all of a sudden it's gonna be like, why would I ever want to fuck with that guy?
Yeah.
And that's where, like, the guy put his name on there. Imagine what his friends think of him, dude. If you sat there and that, like, you're an Indiana fan, and the guy you sit next to at the games on however many nights at Assembly Hall is the name on there, and you're like, oh fuck, man, like what? I don't know. I would just be
How down bad do you have to be to do something like that? One, and like two, I doubt this guy has any friends.
No.
I guess three things.
That's
Those
the
two
only
things.
reason you know what he needs to do? He needs to get on a message board.
Yeah. Message boards are. Oh my
He's
God.
welcome on cyclonefanatic.com at any time. And we got the greatest people on the internet.
I'm sure about that.
I've never seen a bad word about you on there.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably a live one right now being typed.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there most certainly is. Cyclone Larry still wants you to unblock him every time that he mentions.
He knew the deal. Does he want to make a new bet? Do you want to rekindle
I'm sure
a
we
new
can think of
chip?
something. I think I can get a line to Larry and we can we can make a plan here. He tweeted at me the other day or earlier today and said he basically admitted to looking at my ass. And I was
Hmm.
like, "Why are you looking at my ass, Cyclone Larry?" And then yeah, he just is. I don't know what's up with that guy, but he really wants you to unblock him on Twitter.
The thing is, like, I thought it was so funny. Like, if Iowa State did beat Iowa, I was gonna unblock them. I was gonna live up to my bet.
Did
But
you ever hear? Have you heard about when he went viral because he put out a stat about Iowa that was like completely made up? It was something about how they'd scored the fewest. They're the first team to do something since like 1897, like some crazy school, you know. And like hella people were fucking retweeting it, dude. The biggest sports people on the planet, and everybody was like, you know, quote tweeting it and reacting to it. And it was just like it was pretty clearly like made up, you know.
yeah,
And hella people were jumping on it, and it was just
Seth Davis probably was on it right away.
uh I don't know if I saw Seth Davis.
That
There
would
were
be funny
some
if he
that were
was.
pretty funny about it though. It was just yeah, that guy's something else. I think that you wouldn't I'm just saying I think you would enjoy the internet more if you did follow Cyclone Larry. I will
Oh,
give Cyclone Larry a shout out. Or
I'm sure.
you know
I'm
that
sure I
props.
would, but I know, like I said this before, I know if I have someone blocked, they definitely said something that was really, really bad. So there is a reason why you're blocked, Cyclone Larry. But I am down to rekindle a new transaction or a bet to occur. You just
I
have to
think
line it through Jared.
I think that I think that Larry has grown up. Ever since
He's
the whole
grown up.
murder yeah, since the whole murdering bears thing, I think that
That shit is so funny. He just said,
yeah,
"I'm gonna murder you at beer."
yeah, so yeah, it was something like that. Something along those lines. Uh yeah, it is I don't know, dude. It's just been a crazy week. Did you see Skip Bayless acting a fool on Monday night?
Yeah, I I didn't read. I saw what he said. I didn't read exactly what he said, but dude, I don't know. There's so many people like that though. Like they just think sports is the most important thing in the world. It's
Yeah,
not. Let me tell you, it's not. Like it's my whole life, and I tell you, it's not my life. Like it's not the most important thing.
yeah. And it just is I mean, it's one thing, you know, if you're wondering that, like everybody's going to wonder that at some point, you know. It's it's just like he was doing it so soon. Like, let's not think about that right now, or at least not try and talk about it. You know, it's just let's just like move on. Like, think about Damar Hamlin, and then let's like move on to the next thing. You know, and not try and really overthink this whole deal. But man, the way that he acts on Twitter, in the way that in the times that I've watched their show, in the way that he acts towards Shannon Sharp, who is an OG man, like is a one of the greatest tight ends in the history of the NFL. He's in the NFL Hall of Fame, like one of the great athletes of the 1990s, you know. And Skip Bayless will disrespect him. And that shit is crazy to me, man, where he's like cutting him off or saying things like there was a couple weeks ago, he was saying something about how Shannon was jealous of Tom Brady's career and things like that. Like Shannon's in the Hall of Fame, like has won Super Bowls. And that shit is that's like what drives me crazy about some people in sports media. Like Skip Bayless gets paid like $7.5 million a year
Just
to
say
do this,
crazy shit.
to do this shit.
Yeah.
For what? Like why? Why? Who watches that? Who watches that now? I feel bad for Shannon because I think Shannon is legitimately like really good at what he does, and as a guy that could, if he wanted to leave that show and go and do his own thing, he could do anything he wanted to, you know. And I just feel like it's sad that he has to be hitched to Skip Bayless or someone like him who just feels hard, like he's not a human being when he steps into being analyst Skip, you know, which I think is really unfortunate.
Yeah, I am shocked. There's a lot of people that watch that show, but I feel like there is a
I don't think
huge.
there are. I don't think there are.
There isn't.
No, it's probably
I
a
feel like
couple
there
hundred
is a
thousand.
huge. I feel like there's a huge like transition with media right now, and I think in 5 to 10 years it's gonna completely change, like how games are being broadcast, who's talking during the games. I mean, we kind of already see that right now. Like Peyton Manning, Eli Manning are coming on and during Monday Night Football and doing their thing, which is fucking awesome. Like that's what it should be like.
Well,
People
and
that know the game talk about the game.
there will always be the market for Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, you know, calling the game. Like there's always going to be those people who just want to hear what's going on. What I think is just so cool is that now you have so many athletes who do this kind of stuff, you know. And the people who are smartest about these things are the people who played it, you know, more often than not, because the coaches aren't going to do it. They're coaching, you know. It's the players, it's the people like JJ Redick. It's the people like uh man, Kendrick Perkins, like people that have been in the league for a minute. Kevin Garnett, like Charles Barkley's is the original, you know. Shaquille O'Neal. I'm speaking in basketball, but football has got all theirs as well. But when you just have people, so many more people who have played the game that can talk about the game and break down the game and explain the game, that's what the future of sports media is. Because there's so many more people out there who want to understand the game. You know, they don't just want it to be like, because they know there's so many people out there who can't play, you know, who can't do the things that those people who played. And it's like they need to be the ones who are going to teach the next generation of people how to play, because then, you know, we continue to get better and better because the kids are watching those things and you're learning. And you know, you watch a video of Tyrese Halliburton talking about how he reads pin down screens and things like that. And it's like, that's passing the knowledge, you know, that's passing the torch, that's passing it on and just like spreading the game. And I don't know. That's where I think that sports media is going. It's not going to be, oh, I'm going to scream at another guy across the table and say crazy things, you know, or at least that's what I hope it is. That's what I want it to be, because that's, for me as a consumer, that's what I want, you know, is I want someone to actually teach me something. When I walk away from this, what am I going to learn, you know? And I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see all these young media people that are getting into this and that are doing it and doing it at a really high level.
I think the perfect example is the TNT with Chuck and Shaquille and Ernie and Kenny. I think they single-handedly have almost shifted the whole media
Mm-hmm.
market, in my opinion, media business. Because what they do, man, I mean, I think honestly, like hands down, like yeah, they have their fun. They're hell entertaining. Like they're so much fun to watch. But there's guys, they know the game. They play the game. They're Hall of Famers. They know exactly what these guys are going through. They have relationship with these players. Like that's what I want to listen to. Like I don't want to listen to Skip Bayless and someone random on ESPN talk about a play on SportsCenter, a top 10 play. Like I want to listen to those guys, man, because one, they're entertaining, and two, they know what the hell they're talking
Mm-hmm.
about, and three, they have a guy that will moderate it, and he knows the game as well. He didn't. I mean, he's not like Shaquille or Chuck, but I mean, he's someone that you want to go in and listen to, like you're talking about. I just have so much respect for that show. I hope. I really think that was a big transition for a lot of like how media is going nowadays.
I mean, I think they opened the door because it's like they're the first. I don't know. I mean, they're the first guys that I can think of that have become like big stars for their show. You know, there's guys uh on the NFL shows, but
No, yeah,
I mean, most of them are either old heads, you know, which nothing against Terry Bradshaw or like Jimmy Johnson or like any of those other guys that are on there, but it just is like not the same kind of vibe. The thing that is so cool about NBA tonight is, or inside the NBA, is that uh, everyone just gets to be themselves, you know, and there's no plan outside of, oh, we're gonna do these highlights other than that, we're just going to sit up here and we're going to talk about whatever, we're going to talk about basketball and we're just going to like play. We're just going to mess around, but we're going to teach some people things. Like you're going to learn something and like someone's going to say something insightful and they're going to do interviews with people and they'll have Dwayne Wade on or they'll have Candace Parker on or whoever, that people that just are really smart people about the game, that now all of a sudden there's so much more access to their minds, and it's good that there's people out there who are willing to be those kinds of things, and that want to do those kinds of things and want to entertain people and continue to do that and do it in a smart way, not just I don't know, just a crazy way, give and takes.
I think that's why what we're doing here too is great. Like with not only our podcast, but Iowa Everywhere, like we're kind of shifting that. I mean, we have a target audience that we're really knowing of. And I think, we're only a few months out. And I mean, I think Chris put up the numbers early on. I think that's just a testament to not only what us two have been able to do, but what Chris has started here. And I think it's really important for the state of Iowa as well. I mean, everything that we talked about, like that's exactly how I love listening to media guys that know what they're talking about. And I would like to imagine like us two know exactly what we're talking about too. And we like to just randomly.
I'm sure we're wrong sometimes. Most of the time.
100%. Yeah. But most people, but we're going to be willing to admit when we're wrong, unlike some other reporters or journalists out there, which is the ego thing we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Did you see Skip when when Shannon came back and to Skip today?
Yeah.
Shannon popped off on him.
Yeah.
It's about time. That's what I was like, man, put him in his place.
Mm-hmm.
Show him what's up. Like, it's one thing. Like, there was a point when it was Skip's show at the beginning, when it was like Shannon was coming on and joining Skip. But it's been like 7 years since that happened. It's their show,
Yeah.
Shannon is just as big a piece of that show, and that's why it's like, why would you put up with this shit? If you're tired of him, like, do something about it. He's the one who's going to be left in the dust. No one's going to want to work with him.
No. If Shannon left Skip, like who is going to be willing to risk their livelihood on a guy that a Hall of Famer just left?
Right. I mean, it just is. I feel like that breed of journalism is kind of a sinking ship. And it's like, even Stephen A, I don't feel like Stephen A does that really as much anymore.
No. It's almost like it's forced and scripted, man. Like it's like,
I think it is to an extent. That's why I say it's like, it's entertainment. It's not, but like so much of discourse, of sports discourse has become that, and it's all about, who's in your top five, what's your top, who's your top five shooting guards of all time, and we've all got to have, if you don't have your top five shooting guards of all time running in your list at all times, someone's going to catch you lacking and you're going to be the one who's a moron, and it's like, it's just crazy, Why can't we just watch sports sometimes? We don't have to give takes on them.
No, you made a good point there because, sorry, like random facts, like, okay, yeah, they're important, but just because random ass facts about someone that played on this team in 1985, like,
I definitely know some of those. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely one of those guys, but I don't know.
But you're not one of those people that do it for not only like a bid or like entertainment or like acting on a set, because that happens so much nowadays. Like they just research their balls off and then they just rip off all these facts.
They've got the craziest statistic of all time. Yeah.
Like, okay, this isn't gonna impact the next game, man. Like it's just not. Like they're different guys in the locker room.
LeBron James is the first player with 43 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 6 blocks, 2 steals, and 1 rolled ankle since December 17th, 1963. Bill Russell with the Boston Celtics. And it's just like they'll say that they say that number. It's just they'll say whatever the numbers were. It's just like, who the fuck's job is it to find that?
There's an NBA player that had an interview. Now that you brought that up, like a couple years ago, and they said like you're the first player, blah blah blah. And he's like, honestly, nowadays, like they just say whatever. Just say they're the first person. They get to the
Right.
point.
Right.
He's like, it doesn't even matter nowadays.
Everything has to be so impactful that it's going to catch somebody's eye, you know?
Right.
And it's like, uh, I saw something from, I'm looking it up. There is the last couple of weeks in the NBA have been insane with guys
Oh,
scoring.
people have been like popping the fuck off. Like
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell just had 71. I feel
I
like
was
it was
gonna say
nobody
Donovan
talking
Mitchell
about.
had 71, but Luka Doncic had 50 at one point. I think Joel
He had
Embiid
60 at one point.
yeah, and I was trying to pull up the whole list, and I can't find. There it is. These guys tweet so much. In the last week, we've seen Donovan Mitchell 71 points, Luka 61 points. And this is the best part: 61 points, 21 rebounds, and 8 assists or 10 assists. Giannis had 55, 10, and 7. LeBron had 47, 10, and 9. And Clay had a 54-point, 10 three-pointer game. That's incredible. And I know that there's probably people out there that are like, oh, nobody's playing defense. I'm telling y'all right now, they are doing everything that they can. There are some people playing the game of basketball right now who are fucking incredible.
I can tell you firsthand, dude. I experienced it in the G League. I'm not even joking you, bro. Like all these guys have there's 90% of these guys I'm playing against have been in the league or are in the league with a two-way or will be in the league. Bro, you could say there's not defense in the NBA. I was a believer, Jared. I was a fucking believer. I thought that no one played defense in NBA or anyone affiliated with the NBA. I can tell you firsthand, no matter what kind of defense is being played, guys will score 40. Guys will score 50. It does not matter. Doesn't matter.
What's the most you've had scored on you?
High school.
What was it?
It was like 34.
Who
AJ
was
Green.
it? No one's ever scored more than 34 points against you?
I mean, not that I can remember.
Who was it? Who did it?
AJ Green. But the thing is, like nowadays,
hey, AJ Green's getting minutes for the Bucks, man.
Yeah, he is. But nowadays, dude, people say like that question, or they're like, "Oh, I've never allowed someone to score more than 30 on me." Blah blah blah. Like, you're not playing 1-on-1, dude. Like,
right.
You're playing 5-on-5. I don't care if you're point guard v point guard. That point guard isn't going to guard that point guard the whole game. It's just a fact. That's all I'm saying. Because I know I've seen it.
Did he cook you, bro? Did he cook you?
I mean, I had 44 that game.
Oh shit! Okay, so it was just. Oh, okay. I mean, I don't think nobody can blame you. Then that's not your fault. You know.
No, that was a sub-state final game. He hit a buzzer beater. It's my senior year, detrimental to my basketball career. It's just like the burn card in blackjack. If that shot didn't go in, my whole life changes.
The which one?
It's just like a burn card in blackjack, right? Like
card,
like everything changes. Your whole life changes.
I mean, your whole life changes. You think if you'd won the state championship?
Yes, your whole life, everything changes.
How?
What do you mean how?
What
you win
changes?
a state title.
Well, I mean, yeah. I don't know. You still got.
Well, let's see. I don't go to Mexico my senior year, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't go on spring break.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't experience alcohol at early.
Oh.
Maybe my.
Oh, I didn't know what you were talking about.
But no, well that
didn't change your whole. Look where you're at now. It didn't change your whole life.
You know what I mean, though. Like one little thing.
That's what's so. No, this is what's crazy. When that shit happened, I'm sure you felt like everything had changed your life. It's like shit.
No, but dude, you're not understanding my fucking point. I'm saying like one little thing changes in your life, right? Or happens in your life.
Yeah.
It changes everything for eternity, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah.
Dude, you're not understanding what I'm saying, dude.
No, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Listen, okay. So let's say I leave to Salt Lake City, right? Tomorrow morning. I'm playing leaves at 9 from Des Moines. I leave my apartment at 7:05. Let's say, oh, this is bad. I can't say this. I don't know how to word this. Like there's, let's say I run or I get to, because lights are censored, right?
Mm-hmm.
Green light or red light.
Yeah.
So let's say I run or I get to a stoplight.
Okay.
And the light
Yeah.
turns green for me, and a guy that's trying to make it to work in time, the light turns red, and there's a crosswalk. It's 30 seconds. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
he stops at the stoplight, right? And now he's late for work. Like that little thing changed his whole
Mm-hmm.
life. Maybe he gets fired from work. All because I
Yeah, I
went
mean, you're
to.
right, dude. Yeah, you're right. It's like
It's
the
just
butterfly
crazy how
effect.
everything's
Isn't that the
connected, dude.
butterfly effect? Yeah.
That's what I'm fucking saying. It's crazy how everything's connected.
I wonder how many people out there are that you have either positively or negatively impacted their life in a way that you just have no idea that you ever. I'm sure there's a lot of people, but it's like someone that has no idea who you are and you have no idea who they are, but they always will remember this one interaction that they had with this one random person this one time. It was that guy, and it's just like forever. They'll You'll never know, like, you'll just be unconsciously hated by this random person, or you'll be unconsciously, like, respected, That's what's kinda cool about it.
That's what I'm trying to get at too. Like, okay, you held the door
Okay,
open
I'm sorry
for.
you didn't do a good job explaining what you
I
were
do.
saying.
I don't know how else you want me to explain that.
No, no, I get what you're saying. I get what you're
But you
saying.
know what I mean? Like you said, thank you for someone holding the door open for you, and you smiled, and they smiled back, and then you're all happy for the day. She's happy for the day. He's happy for whatever he or she was. Whole
Be
life
nice to
changes.
people. That's the lesson. Be nice to
Great,
people.
great summary for everything we've talked about.
Yeah. I feel like we have I don't know, I feel like that was a really deep it's been deep, like, last 53 minutes.
Well,
Intermixed with, like, some, surface level basketball knowledge because you didn't watch Iowa State. You didn't do your homework.
I mean, to be fair,
I know
I've
you're
been
playing hurt. I'm not mad about
I've
it. I'm
been
just
sick, and I've had a hell of a last week of games.
yeah. I'm just giving you shit, dude. I'm not mad about it. It
I've,
is
wa-
what
I've
it is.
watched one college basketball game in the last 5 days.
I got to
Sue
get
me.
you on
Sue me.
I got to get you on the YouTube channel that's got the 20-minute games. You can pop them on there, and then they shows you the entire game, 20 minutes.
Yeah, or you can just look on the ESPN Gamecast and just see who played well, who didn't.
It's all you don't even need to see the game.
Dude, I've watched so much fucking basketball with film and like college basketball in general as an athlete. Dude, I can literally just go on the ESPN like stats and I can just see. In the Gamecast, it shows like when shots are taken too. Like if I just scroll through
Mm-hmm.
and let's say like a team went on 12-0 run and a guy came down on the team and they shot like a quick shot on the shot clock, like I can just tell like, okay, that guy was nowhere to be found this game. Like he hurt the team. It's pretty easy to do. Anyone that's played basketball, like you would be able to do it.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm sure that I could. I know how to read the stat sheet.
That's what I'm saying.
That's pretty. I mean, yeah, that's pretty basic. But you do need to watch the game to know like the tenor of the game.
Okay, yeah.
So you can
obviously.
analyze it.
I'm just talking
if we'd been able to do podcasts the last 2 weeks, we would have given more in-depth breakdowns of Eastern Illinois and Iowa. I'm sure that they would have been really riveting. Not blaming anybody. I'm not saying anything like that. We just didn't do it. We just didn't have time to do them. But it's nah.
It's good to be back, is what we're getting at.
It's good to be back, dude. It's good to talk to you. We'll talk to everybody again next week. Peace.